Greetings gamers, FiOth here, and in this video I'm gonna try to clear the air when it comes to Redfall, game that released yesterday and has had more shit stuck on its back than the collective number of dung beetles surviving on the planet since time immemorial. For some reason, people expected this to be something else, and because it's not Dishonored, people think it's total crap. I'm gonna be totally honest here, Timmy, Georgie, Michael, if you're an Xbox fanboy and came into this vid thinking, oh, this guy's gonna do the X justice, it's gonna be such a huge win, motherfuckers, this is a misunderstood masterpiece, Xbox for life. No, dude, that's not the case. And that's not the game you're talking about. This is by no means a masterpiece, guys. It's not reinventing the wheel. Nothing completely or extremely original is happening here, but it's not the third people are making it out to be. I'm gonna start with an analogy, and the gameplay you see in the background is just some chill gameplay I'm having with a friend since last night. No spoilers, nothing of importance, you can just chill and watch. I'm not gonna do 50 transitions per second to make it modern. You can just relax, watch the proceedings and listen to my voice, and it's gonna be fine. Do you remember Ubisoft's Extraction, a game that came out a couple years ago, which was like an event for Siege initially and then became a game of its own? When that game came out, it took a huge dang from pretty much everyone, the press, players in general, and the game didn't really do well. Ubisoft had to abandon it after a while. They might throw a patch here and there, but the game's pretty much done. People expected something else from that game as well. I, for the most part, am a guy who hates time wasters when it comes to games. And by time wasters, I mean games with huge maps where you just find blinks on a map and go and collect them, and the end game of it is just to get all the blinks. That's pretty much Ubisoft's entire portfolio, by the way. It might sound a bit controversial compared to what I said earlier, but stick with me and it will make total sense. What Redfall does really well is managing to be a zen experience if you are playing with friends and don't want to invest too much processing power whilst going from point A to point B. It is a game that's very accessible on its base difficulty setting, unless you are, I don't know, an IGN reviewer with 3 fingers who cannot shoot in a straight line and reviews games on easy mode. Difficulty is just fine if you want to play on normal. It has hard and another unlockable difficulty that you can move on to after you complete the game, and it has a persistent world where you can just explore, and exploration seems meaningful because there are unique instances in unique areas. So unlike other games of the genre like Destiny, when you move to a location and interact with specific aspects, those will stick to your world state and will actually generate something of interest, like an extra skin for a weapon, or alter something, unlock something, and so on and so forth. It is also mechanically fine. The shooting is solid, characters have interesting abilities. You cannot create your character, but later on in the game you can put points in nodes to create builds, and for the most part the game is functional. It's buggy AF right now, and the first day patch that we got did some work. Still kind of problematic, getting disconnects and strange happenings in general, like stuff getting stuck into walls and ground and all that, but it's not as common as in other releases, and it's not really a game breaker. I am not making excuses for the poor state of certain aspects of the game. I want to make this abundantly clear, but I am not gonna be a nihilist saying that everything is a disaster. Okay, what's the good on offer here? What's the good stuff? As I said, character variety, they seem to complement each other. It doesn't require you to be overly aware of what's happening, in part to the fact that enemies are dumb as bricks, and you can just keep going through the motions of unlocking stuff, progressing the story, and the story itself, as well as the atmosphere and aesthetics in which it is presented, it's fine. It's totally fine. It brings this Arcane style of designs in full force. It's a bit overly bright in certain instances for my liking when we're talking about a vampires game, but it makes use of some story elements to make this choice seem logical. because it has a day and night cycle, or you'd be just going through a game that you might be playing for 100 hours in perpetual night. And although that'd be fine by me, I know it wouldn't be fine for many other people. There is stuff to enjoy here. And if this game gets support long term, I can see many people sticking to it and actually having a good time with it. With two people, it's fine to see the protagonists interact with each other. The writing is very strong. When they speak, it actually kind of feels organic, unlike, let's say, Back 4 Blood, where the one-liners of the characters were pathetic at best and you would just cringe out of your mind whenever you heard them talking. The game keeps dropping loot at you with various perks that you can try out. Of course, I didn't expect them to get it right from the get-go, and I think the only game that actually gets it right at this point is Destiny, because you might get a purple rarity gun 15 minutes into the game. That's the second from best rarity, but because they're also tied to a level, if that's a level 2 gun, and then you get a white that is the most common rarity 10 minutes after, and it's a level 4, that level 4 will deal more damage, being of the lowest quality than the gun that dropped for you a little bit earlier, that is of rare quality. Destiny has the infusion system that allows you to take your well-rolled weapons and upgrade them for higher level activities. I don't see this happening here, at least at the moment. I haven't seen it happen, and no one from my peers has told me that it's possible, even those who've played more than me, so I don't think that is a thing. You get loot and then you discard loot, or you may keep 1 or 2 guns in the hopes that you can somehow upgrade their levels. The AI is also kind of problematic. It doesn't really pose a threat. Shooters are kind of pinpoint accurate, which is fine. They don't have to be totally useless. But the vampiric enemies are supposed to be the big issue you'll have to deal with. They're dumb as bricks, and they keep just running in a straight line and you can just unload on them. They can't take that much damage. Even the underbosses, as the game calls them, that you have to kill to secure safe houses, are kinda useless. By the time they stop boasting about how mighty the vampiric blood has made them, you have unloaded 3 clips in their faces and they're just begging to be spared, which is kinda stupid. One thing that I want you to understand, and if taken in context, it's gonna redeem a few of the qualities of this game. Guys, these games are not supposed to challenge you mentally. They're not supposed to relate to you overly exciting stories with a lot of nuance that would require your attention to a degree where playing the game would actually become impossible. Because if you have a really intricate scenario in a game like this, where 3 other people would be running around shooting because their attention span will be like 8 seconds and creating noise whilst you try to read the document, that's not the genre where you get the amazing pioneering storytelling stuff. It just isn't. And I'm gonna say something about the development of this thing and the events that transpired while this game was being made. This is an Arcane game, and Arcane is part of Bethesda, and Bethesda was purchased by Microsoft some years ago. It was $7-something billion, pretty big acquisition, and Microsoft ended up getting all of Arcane's creations, Doom, and many other franchises that are considered some consequence. Arcane never made a game like this before. They made first-person story-driven experiences, very memorable ones, some of them Game of the Year material. Let's take, for example, Dishonored, Prey, and Deathloop. That is, I think, their weakest link, but people loved it for very specific reasons. I don't want to start a dialogue here about why Deathloop created such noise and Prey didn't, because Twitter will try to eat me alive if they can find my video. Overly expressive minority will have an issue with my statements. Arcane never made a game like this. Mind you, this is Arcane Austin and not Arcane Lyon that made Deathloop. These are the Alpha Studio people, and they've never botched anything to the extent that Redfall seems to be a botched job before. But you can find their DNA in this. You can find it in the abilities, you can find it in the writing, you can find it in the fact that there is a huge amount of lore entries scattered throughout the environment that they really don't expect anyone to read. As I said earlier, this is not a game where you just stand around reading documents. It just isn't how these games work. What I believe is as follows. This was a concept before the acquisition by Microsoft. After the acquisition by Microsoft, the game went through a transformation. Maybe this was supposed to be a co-op shooter of a more linear fashion, but not focused on the live service model, for example. In the end, as we learned from a recent interview for one of the creative directors, I think, that saw the light of day about 2 to 3 weeks ago, when Microsoft came in, the guy stated, they pretty much said, all hands on optimizing for the live service, Xbox and PC environment, and they pretty much cancelled the PlayStation version of the game. I think cancelling the PlayStation version of the game and going full throttle towards the live service model is not the only thing that changed. I think the whole formula of how the game would develop was altered. And from then on, for the next couple of years, they just have to mismatch elements to create this. It's running 4K 30 frames on Xbox Series X, which makes no sense. It's like someone from the higher ups was like, make it shiny even if it runs like shit, and the idiots won't understand what we're selling them. It reeks of corporate meddling. Corporate meddling here must be the most relevant term that we can use. The big guy came in and changed what this game was supposed to be. And because of that, the game got botched. It's a story we've read and seen 1,000 times. But it is not the worst thing to ever come out. Because yes, shitting all over someone's work generates views, and you can have a thumbnail where you are holding your hand in front of your mouth like you're screaming for dear life, because that creates a reaction in the human lizard brain and people will click on it. But you're not a clown and you want to actually include information that's relevant to what you're reviewing. You have to talk about what this game's supposed to do. All these games, with a very few exceptions, of really high difficulty end game content, like the Rage and Destiny for example, are games where you team up with friends on comms, go through the motions, complete objectives, upgrade your characters, just to tackle high difficulty content at some point maybe, and you're having snacks and drinking beer, having a relatively good time. Redfall sounds, looks, and functions well enough to fill that role in this kind of theme and scenario, the vampire baseline lore. It's not a disaster to the extent that people make it out to be. It's not the next Dishonored, it's not the next Prey, and the fact that it comes from a studio that has little experience into making stuff like this shouldn't make us believe that everything they will ever make ever again is gonna be Dishonored, guys. Maybe they didn't want to make this at all. Has that thought occurred to any of you? Maybe they didn't want to make a live service bullshit model game. But now they are under Microsoft, the biggest boy in the industry. And they crafted something here that is definitely playable, not very eye-catching when it comes to the tech, but serviceable, and it is on Game Pass. And that's something I want to underline here and is very, very important. Do not buy this for 60 euros or dollars or whatever currency you have where you live. It's not worth the money at the moment. I always say that you cannot put a price on art, but these games are products, first and foremost. They are not works of art. They aim at being sold, not expressing something. Don't pay them for such a release. But you can play it. You can play it with Game Pass. It's not going to cost you an extra dime. Game Pass is huge value at the moment for the monthly fee it's asking. If you really want to play this, that's the way to go about it. It's very, very simple. I know I come out a bit passionate about this, although I don't actually love the game. I think it's fine on a baseline level, on the average point now. But if they keep supporting it, and they keep adding stuff, and they keep fixing bugs and optimizing performance, and it's on Game Pass, and you don't ever have to buy it, and you just have to check it out initially, and then you realize that you like it, and then you sit down with 3 other friends and tackle it whilst you're chilling, and don't expect it to be the next big thing in storytelling or whatever the hell you expected, it's gonna be fine. A person wiser than me once said, you cannot expect nuance from the masses. That's a historical statement. The masses see black and white. It's gonna be great, it's gonna be shit. Binary. But there is the in-between, and it is vast. You can just Go for something that will fulfill the purpose that drives you when it comes to approaching it. This is a functional time waste, and it's not gonna kill you if you play this. It has a myriad issues, guys, myriad issues. But I've seen far worse. I've played far worse, and I have to remind you, when Destiny came out, it wasn't that good, and Destiny, even today, so many years later, is an empire. I don't see Redfall getting that far, to be honest, but for a few months, for the grand price of 0, if you play on Game Pass, you can have some fun and chill. Is this the win that Microsoft was expecting after the debacle with Britain blocking their acquisition of Activision Blizzard? No, man, it's another loss. Right now, Microsoft ecosystem is on life support. They don't have shit to show for themselves. And Starfield is ways away still, and it's not looking good. Is the economics of a multi-billion corporation your pet peeve? No, man, you're a consumer, you are a gamer. You see this thing in the shelf of Game Pass and think it's interesting? Give it a go. There's nothing to lose. You don't see yourself playing it for 10 minutes and then getting one achievement and leaving the rest locked and getting OCD, because that happens to me a lot. Play on another profile and you're golden. Just experiment with it. Those are my 2 cents, guys. I'm going to cover this. I'm going to stream it. I don't see much coming out until mid-June, where I expect Aliens Dark Descent. So this will be it for a few weeks. If it improves, it becomes better, fine. If not, we're gonna leave it behind us at some point, because there'll be nothing else to do. It really looks like a short game, and then you have to go on the higher difficulty settings and keep unlocking stuff and improving the character. But I'm not gonna do this for 1,000 years. I'm not a masochist. So there you have it. I hope this was informative, a bit more cold-headed than what the average review out there is saying, because man, these people like drama. Sub, like, share, hit the notification bell if you found this useful. I would suggest you either visit Patreon, get a membership, or hit that super thanks button next to the game's title below. It really helps a lot. These vids don't make themselves, guys. Appreciate all your help. Drop in our Discord if you want to find people to play with. And until next time, be well, stay frosty, always strive for perfection. Cheers!